Good morning on day 4. We've just left Barbarano Romano and we're first making our way to, I suppose, a hamlet called Civitella Cesi, pretty much heading south-west. Then we take a bit of a sharp turn and head northwest for the rest of the day towards Monte Romano. Total walk about 26 kilometers. Once again, I've combined 2 stages of Route 103, Trekking Tuscia, and once again, another warm day forecast. Off we go. About 4 kilometres in, and we've now entered the Monte Romano Nature Reserve, which is made up principally of the Cimini, Vicani and Tolfa mountains. They're called mountains, but they rarely rise much higher than about 400 metres. Incredibly undulating landscape, which means that on a regular basis I'm coming up to fantastically open views, which is really the first time on this walk that that's happened on a regular basis. I've been told by my physiotherapist that this is probably the hardest section of the walk, not necessarily the length, but because the landscape is absolutely remote, not a lot of shade, and also unendingly undulating. It's just up and down the whole way through. We end up overall dropping to about 50 metres above sea level, starting at about 350, and then we end up again at about 350-400 metres at Monte Romano. I'll give you a quick view of the kind of landscape that we're going to be walking through today, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. I don't know if you can hear it, but there are wild boar, 2 little wild boar that have just crossed the path and then run off into the woods. The wild boar that I just saw were very young, very small, so I'm going to keep my eye out because I don't want to get between them and an angry parent. So I'm walking down through the woodland here. I thought I'd heard some and seen some a little while ago, but I wasn't 100% sure. But yeah, it's the first time I've seen them in the daytime. Seen them quite a lot at night, driving around through this part of Italy, but never during the day. And there, just in the centre there, is the first view of Civitella Cesi, which is going to be my first stop today. The wild horses on the path in front of me. Here we have it, Civitella Cesi. I'm going to see if I can find a little bar or just someplace I can sit down and have a snack, and then we'll get back on the road. This is at about 8 kilometres, and technically it's actually the end of one of the stages, but I don't think 8 kilometres is enough of a walk for a day. to go out on a bit of a limb here and say that this path is not very frequently used. I've been pulling brambles literally growing across the path at waist height, knee height, chest height. We've been following what they call in Italy a torrente, which is a seasonal stream through a valley for the last 10-15 minutes, and we're now starting uphill again. We're probably about, for the day, about a little over a third of the way through. Very slow, very sluggish water. Not that attractive and a bit smelly, to be honest. But the interesting thing about this day is just how remote it feels. All of the other days, it hasn't been too long before you've heard a car or just basic signs of life. Today, very little. Now that we've come into this section, we've got the occasional plane that we can hear going over. But apart from that, there's just nothing, which is really quite wonderful. Now, I know that in this park, in this nature reserve, there are Etruscan tombs and some rock cut paths, and this looks like one to me. In fact, I can see a tomb just ahead. Let's go explore. About 2 minutes after we saw the tombs, we just popped out of the woods onto this farm road, and we've got quite a stretch with no shade. So we'll try and get through this, and then we'll find somewhere to have a sit down and rest. Even though I'm walking along a farm road, I can see the farm buildings to the left and to the right. The feeling of remoteness still hasn't gone from the walk. It definitely has a very different feel to the other days. You feel really like you're in the middle of nowhere, and I think because the landscape has opened up and you can see all the way around you, you can see the land, you can see the landscape, the hills surrounding you. I think it just adds to that sense of isolation. You have a much stronger feeling of being a small thing in a large place. Also just passed a sign saying there are sheepdogs guarding the livestock. Usually they're not fenced in, but if you pay them no attention, don't go too close to the sheep or whatever livestock they're looking after, it's usually sheep, then there shouldn't be any problems. So the woodland has stayed teasingly close, but unfortunately the path doesn't go through it. But quite impressive. The gorge down there is just fantastic. I think we've just found the perfect spot for lunch. The shade was good while it lasted. Again, eased by the trees. Walking down basically what feels like a trekking motorway. A gravel path, very wide, very straight, very hot. I may be wrong. I'm not sure how I would look this up, but I'm starting to wonder if this was the route of an old railway, There's definitely infrastructure either side of it. It's wide enough, it's straight enough, the curves are very sort of languid, the way that you would expect from a railway. And there I think we have our answer, a station for Monte Romano, which, given that we're still about an hour 45 minutes walk away, I hope they had good road connections as well. Off the railway path now and back into open woodland. We've got some shade. What we've lost is the lovely breeze that we had. The path is now very park-like, a little open area at the bottom of the valley. Just past, and we're sort of following the first actual proper river that I've seen on this walk. So up ahead we have the cattle that are basically grazing in this field, this area. And when they saw me coming, they started moving forward. And basically what they're doing is they're just moving further along the same path that I'm walking along. So I'm getting slightly concerned that eventually we're going to get to a place where they've got nowhere else to go and I have to keep going past them. But we'll worry about that if it happens. We've definitely started the uphill. Got to gain about another 180 metres and then drop down a little bit into Monte Romano. But it's probably another 4 or 5 kilometres, so hopefully we'll get some shade. The views are always worth it. And there you have it. Nice easy path out to Monte Romano. Still can't see the town, but I'm guessing it's just over the next rise. Just past the sign saying it's 30 minutes to Monte Romano. I make it about 1.5 kilometres, 2 kilometres, so feels about right. I mean, today, out of the 4 days so far, has definitely been the most exposed in terms of sun. The walking itself hasn't been too difficult, but the heat and the actual sun, direct sun, has been pretty tough. Slowed me down a little bit. And here we are walking into Monte Romano. It's a place I've driven through many, many times. You go through it on the way out to the coast. You come in through the bottom end of the town. We're coming in through the top end. So I shall head down to the piazza and grab my beer. End of a good day and a well-deserved beer. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow.